Hi, good
Hey,
afternoon,
Walter.
Luis. Hi, how you doing?
Good. Walter, can
Can
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah. How you doing, man?
Good, good, good. It's been still another busy day.
Yeah.
But it's all right. Enjoying some lunch at my desk like I usually do. But
Yeah.
how about your how about your day?
uh,
How's it going?
it's good. Going. It's good. Busy is good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah, that's good. Good to hear. Just wanted to go ahead and just use this time to talk about what went over in the interview with Chuck. I know it was
Uh huh.
last Friday. Um, I guess we'll go ahead and just kind of start off by asking, just how's it been since the interview? How do you how do you feel? What's been going on?
Yeah, good. I mean, I feel like the interview went pretty well. It was actually I showed up about 30 minutes earlier, and we ended up. I think it was like a total of hour and a half. So it was a pretty long interview. A lot of communication between both of us and clear understanding of what the position entails. So I felt like it went pretty well.
Good, good. For the most part, like you said, just kind of talked a little about the role itself. Kind of ask you questions in regards to previous roles.
Yeah.
Great, great. If I would ask you, what do you think went well in regards to kind of the role, the interview itself?
It kind of the same thing. As starting off with interviewing with you. Right away we identified what I was doing previously, fell in line to what they're looking for. Um, they asked me, a bunch of management related questions. He didn't go too much into the sales part as I thought I was going fully prepared. If he maybe asked one question, we answered it, and you know, it turned more into a fluid conversation instead of answering the question and answering like we were just honestly it came to a point where we just felt like we're all just talking.
No, that's good. At the end of the day, it's kind of when we initially started the interview process, looking for someone, of course, that's personable. In regards to kind of being in that role, and kind of how you got to know Chuck's demeanor. He's very, I guess you can say, he doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He's just kind of, um, I guess, in a sense, just kind of wants to have someone like that that can be able to have conversation, and just feel comfortable. Right? Because at the
Yeah,
end of the day, he's looking for someone that, of course, he can trust while he's, as of course he's commuting if he's out of town, back in Oakland, and just wants to have that trust of someone that could run the day-to-day operations. That's key.
yeah,
Um,
and I did interview as well with his wife. Also, his wife
yeah,
was present, and that was one thing they expressed on how they essentially wanted this to be a remote role for them, and but they had never heard of EOS, so I told them I was part of that. And I was like, yeah, you guys are the visionaries. Like, you guys, should just be working on the future of the business. And you guys can't do that with, day-to-day operations. That's what I'm here for. And I kind of felt like that was a good point. So yeah, I talked a little bit about EOS and explained to her what it was and how I'm planning to adopt that if, given the opportunity with their business.
that's great. That's great because, like you said, I know we talked about it. I know us as a Tolkien company, we use that system, and it's helped us
Yeah.
out a lot. It's helped me out in regards to kind of dealing with when there's certain issues and we IBS them, but things like that. Implementing, kind of seeing ways to kind of provide that vision if they do want to be kind of the visionaries of or she wants to be the visionary of the company. What
Yeah.
else would you say kind of went well, just to kind of add to that?
That was kind of the big point. They asked about questions of every single position I was in. I felt like Chuck, he brought it. It was a good sign that, unfortunately, with my previous employment, it was more of being forced out just because of the situation that I kept finding myself in. And I explained to him I wanted a girl, I wanted to essentially find a home. And so I know that was also a good point for him. Just again, from what I was feeling, And I mean, again, I don't know if this is normal for them. They walked me through their warehouses. They showed me their warehouses. They started telling me, okay, this truck's going to need this check. And I was just, for me, that was a little bit out of the ordinary for an interview. At least for me, I never, anybody that I wasn't fully sold on, I would have never showed them my warehouse just for liability issues. You don't want the random people seeing
kind of exposed.
what you have.
Yeah. No, I completely understand. I guess that sort of kind of put it from both sides. Well, one, it's a positive thing to kind of show comfortability. Showed kind of sense that just let me kind of show them what my operation is, kind of so you can get an idea. In regards to when you were kind of going through the walkthrough, any conversations that were there, regarding of your previous roles that you could say, well, this is something that I've done before. Maybe kind of things like that. Any conversations in that sense?
Yeah. They were showing me their trucks, the trucks that they're gonna have for their helpers, and a truck that they were gonna get wrapped. I'm like, yeah, we dealt with companies. I told them what company we used to get our trucks wrapped, and it was pretty quick. And then from there, they kind of we walked towards the exit. We shook hands, and that was kind of the end of the interview from there.
Okay. If I were to ask you right now, Luis, what would you say would be kind of things that not saying that didn't go well, that you kind of felt besides that what you found kind of odd of kind of going through the walkthrough?
Honestly, and then I hope it's not a confidence thing, but I wouldn't say anything that didn't go well, because I mean, I swear I was like, oh my God, I should have said this. We didn't talk about this. We covered a lot of points. Like I said, I was there for an hour and a half, and we got a good chance to clear about everything. Towards the end, Chuck was like, okay, we asked absolutely everything. What about you, Luis? And I was asking questions along the way. I was like, no, like the questions I've had, I've already asked. You guys have addressed them. Some other stuff Walter has covered. He did a great job on that. So, I have a clear understanding. So, as far as, I could say I would go back and redo anything. I honestly, I wouldn't have much feedback on that.
Okay. Like you said, that's good. Kind of covered. I know that was one of the things that Chuck mentioned kind of going into the in-person, and I wanted to kind of prepare you in regards to questions. At the end of the day, we wanted to know kind of more of the not leave anything out on the table. If you have specific questions that maybe I couldn't answer during the interview process, that would have been the best time. And then also, I know, Chuck, it's a difference of me kind of getting to know you, sending over notes. But for the most part, the face-to-face is a little bit different than that kind of that Zoom interview and then the phone call. So, but glad to hear that, for the most part, everything was covered and was answered. Well, I'll go ahead and just kind of, if you don't mind, kind of give you the feedback that I got from Chuck, and then also just kind of overall.
Okay.
But for the most part, yes. Kind of the background that you've had in regards to kind of being, general manager, kind of running the day-to-day operations experience. Chuck liked about that. Personable, like you mentioned, just kind of having that conversation. It didn't really feel like, I'm not sure, like certain interviews, you kind of feel like you're being interrogated, where it's a question and then a response. Question and response. No, this one was just kind of more of felt comfortable, like you said, just kind of that's a positive thing, because at the end of the day, it's the person that, like you said, you're going to be given the keys. You're going to be able to kind of lead the team, the staff, when their plan is to kind of eventually grow and not, like you said, physically be there, knowing that they have 100% trust and feel comfortable. That this is the person that we feel that is going to be able to run the operations. So that was one of the things that they did kind of see, that there's a good possibility there. With that being said, I guess kind of more on the feedback was wanted to take this time to ask, because he didn't get a sense in regards to when your previous role. I know you mentioned with the owners kind of going and retiring. And then I know you said the son took over for design windows and doors, and then just kind of said how he made, bad, or I wouldn't say bad, just kind of risky decisions, and it turned out not to pan out well for the company.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what I think I probably could have dove a little bit more. What input would you say you had towards that? Was that something that you felt that could have been addressed a little bit more?
Yeah, we touched on it briefly. Let him know when once the son took over. I did explain to him, it wasn't one of those things where, well, I don't want to work for this guy, and we bump heads. He had my full buy-in, and as well that fortunately the business is struggling. He had to downsize, but yeah, after that we just kind of moved on to the next talking point. They didn't ask me any more questions on that regard.
Okay. I guess just kind of based on that, what would you say your answer? I know you did mention kind of you guys didn't align on certain thinking, kind of butt heads. What would you have done different in regards to kind of assisted in that? Because that's kind of I guess kind of the way I tried to explain to him, and I figured I was like, well, this is something that could have gone a little bit more further. Was if let's say in the scenario, you're working for a company that established already for years, then it kind of ownership kind of got passed down to the son. You're still in the production manager / GM role per se, and then as the company started kind of going through those issues, Chuck was kind of asking, well, is that part of how much did he contribute to that? Just like if you contribute to growth, also on the downsides, and that's kind of what I would ask.
So yeah, for that, it pretty much I would speak against it, especially when our total projects were going down. I would bring it up to the son, but he was adamant on his plan to pretty much larger tickets, smaller amount of work, and in turn smaller install teams. So for this part, we do go back to EOS. We brought it up. We brought it up in our quarterly with our integrator. Our integrator was Jim Bross, and we always voted on it. And he had the buy-in of our integrator because he was the visionary as being the owner. Our integrator was our accountant, and they would vote to go down that path. And I would speak up the issues, but they were set on their plan.
Okay, so that's it. It was kind of talked about, just kind of said a little bit more difficult when the son was adamant about that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. One other thing was when previous GM roles, working at whether it be Aaron's or whether it be at Title Max, the staff. How do you feel in regards to kind of dealing with the staff of how many would you say were at Title Max, for example?
Yeah, so they did ask me that, and it's funny now that you bring that up because that's somewhat. Yeah, that was one thing because they asked me like, well, at Title Max, what was your staff? I was 3 per location at Title Max, and 7 at my big store. But like I did mention some, I was running multiple locations for Title Max. So all in all, it was like 15 employees. And I did explain why we didn't require too much staffing. I just required a store manager and 2 appraisers. So I did explain why it was so low staff that I needed there. But with Aaron's and with Design Windows, I told him, I was managing anywhere from 26 to 30 staff members at a time.
Okay, and I think that was kind of more of the difference because when like you said at Aaron's, I can kind of see it itself being more of having more staff than the locations at the Title Max. But glad you were able to explain that because I know that was something that just kind of felt, okay, how did that tie into running the staff of, let's say, 24 people, 24, 25 employees, and then that's kind of where you feel that, well, at Aaron's, perfect example, 26 to 30, so it aligns kind of with the amount of staff there. Going into, let's say, implementing the EOS system, like you said, would be something that would be important, but at the same time, taking ownership. How do you feel about that?
Taking ownership. I mean that goes given with the position. If we win, it's not I win, and when we lose, it's I lose. kind of always been my mentality, towards management, and it's unfortunately not always self-explanatory with a lot of managers, but with me, it's it's not I'm winning, it's not I'm doing good. It's my team did good. My team will get the praises. My team did the hard work, and when we fail, I'm not blaming. I'm not pointing fingers. We need to find out where the issues was, and I need to fix it. And I take that fully responsibility to turn the things around.
Okay, kind of say like being able to kind of contribute on the win. It was a collaborative team effort, but kind of taking the ownership. And let's say if things don't go right, it was okay. Well, now it's on management. What could have been done better? Things could have been implemented. Things like that.
Yeah.
Good. If I were to say, kind of taking everything in stride, kind of, we talked about today, the in-person interview, what would you say would be something that you would kind of change or do a little bit different, or maybe ask?
Well, I mean, knowing his concerns, I mean, and I did ask towards the end if they had anything else, and he said no. He's like, we have everything. I guess I just really, instead of saying if he had any questions, there was any concerns that I could address, but I mean, again, towards the end, it was so, like, wow, we got everything. You got everything. I was like, I got everything. So we kind of had that check-in. But yeah, I wish he would have, if there was any concerns there, I would have been more than happy to address them.
No, and then thank you. For the most part, at least, that's one of the things that since I had a chance to interview you, went from the phone interview, from having the Zoom, and just kind of having the communication. You're very open. If I ask you a question, you answer. You're directly, you're honest, and that's kind of what I was like. Well, if there was anything else, and I know could be a possibility. I know with Chuck, he's actually flying out this week due to the holidays. I had a meeting with him yesterday. I know I was going to try to reach out to you earlier, but just due to the schedule, he had an appointment. I'm not sure if you mentioned he's going through an eye surgery.
Oh no, he didn't show that.
And he had an appointment, some checkups, doctor's appointment. So it got kind of changed. But the fact that you're accessible is very important, and I've addressed that with Chuck since day one, since we've talked about you. What we wanted to go ahead and do with this call is just kind of ask the final questions, which we certainly did today and we covered. I mean, like I said, I've given you your feedback. The fact that you have qualities based on what I was asked to look for, and then Chuck agreed. He's like, look, I like Luis. Luis is I can see him as a GM. I guess kind of the concerns that he did talk about were the same ones we talked over about today. Just kind of feeling of if he does feel the trust, is just kind of seeing the amount of the staff. With that being said, there wasn't a full commitment on the yes of offering the position at this point in time, Luis. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to be, I guess, given in the future. I will follow back up with Chuck this Thursday. I just kind of wanted to kind of keep you, of course, give you the follow-up and let you know what the next step is. There's a possibility of one more in-person with Chuck. Okay. The only things is just we're trying to kind of work it if it's either going to be before the holidays or when he flies back. But I know he's going to be out for next week. I just kind of wanted to get a sense from your part. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very open for the the role. I'm excited of the role, and just my concern is as far as the time window as well, because I given with CrimSafe, I am unemployed, so I have kind of been pumping the brakes on looking for work, just because I honestly did feel very confident about this role, but it's one thing is I do need to start searching. I mean, again, I'm the provider for my family, so every day I'm not looking and I pump the brakes on it. I could potentially be missing some opportunities, and it's not by any way, shape, or form to put any pressure on Chuck to make a decision or yourself. But that would be my main concern, because I would need to go out and start probably searching more aggressively if it's up in the air.
No, and completely appreciate it in regards to kind of, like you said, the timing, from last week when you mentioned that, stopped working at CrimSafe, and then completely understand, as a provider myself, I feel that, like you mentioned, as each day goes by, it's one less day to contribute in some sense, way or form. So completely understand. The best thing I can do on my part, Luis, is, again, when I follow up today with Chuck, I know today is Tuesday, just kind of go over the information. And if I would say later today, if I get a response as soon as possible, to kind of push forward to the finals. I mean, we're already kind of near the final step, but just kind of the additional step with the in-person with Chuck again. I will get back to you diligently, like as soon as I can, as soon as I get that information. But I just want to go ahead and just kind of take this time, because I figured yesterday when we kind of texted, we're back and forth, and I figured I'd rather just kind of set up the call to let you know.
Yeah.
With that being said, Luis, I will go ahead and just send this information out. I will reach back out to you. I have a final, let's see, my final call for the day is at 5:30. 6 o'clock, would you be available?
Yeah, absolutely.
For a follow-up? Great. And it'll just be a quick follow-up to let you know the steps. So I will follow back up with you, Luis. But again, positive note, like you were likable, having that conversation made him feel really comfortable in regards of knowing that there was some trust there. I guess just the final concerns were what we asked, but I will reach back out to you later today, but still, feeling good, Luis. Let me go ahead and follow back up with Chuck, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you, Luis, for your time. Talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.